Right. I have no time for borders. Why? I have no time for colonialism. How do you say to me, go and change French on the passport, and then come at the same time and say, leave the borders alone, but remove French. Removing of French on the passport is part of decolonizing South Africa.
Yeah.
So you can't speak in folk tongues. It has to be very clear. No one is going to come to our country. They don't have borders in Europe. But when it comes to us, they say, no, you must have borders. Why? The division of of Africa is what makes them thrive. They thrive on the division of the African continent. Can you imagine the minerals of DRC combined with the minerals of South Africa and with a new currency based on the minerals? What we can do to the dollar if we become a United States of Africa with our minerals alone? We can collapse the dollar. We can collapse the strong pound that is based on gold, yet they don't have a gold mine. So why do you allow such things? So my position is informed by that. And someone says, no, we won't vote you if you say such things, we won't vote for you. He's asking me to lie so that he can go around saying politicians lie. When I tell the truth, I won't vote for you. I must lie so that they can vote for me.
All right.
There were no borders, and we must all of us unite in that call.
Yeah.
Free movements of persons, free movements of goods will make this country flourish. We will even produce our own products. One thing that you South Africans undermine yourself with is that you are the America of Africa. If we are to produce anything here, Africa will receive it with both hands. They will say, this one is from South Africa. You are known for quality, yet you still don't produce a car. Open the borders. Let the goods move. Let people move. Then produce a car that is South African and sell it to the billions of people who are out there waiting for products from South Africa.
All right.
We don't produce anything, yet we've got market. Because it comes from your mouth, they want it to sound like it's illegal. If John Steenhuisen had done that thing I did, these questions were not going to be asked. So John, even after that day where we now resorted to taking up the placards, and it is because they said no one is going to speak now. It's done. You're not. Then we decided, okay, since you are refusing us to speak, we take out the placards. We are going to protest in silence. Then they pushed us out. What happened? Which media wrote about John Steenhuisen speaking after people were chased out, told not to speak, and they insisted on speaking? John spoke. You know what saved John? The color of his skin. You look at how the ANC treats the DA in parliament and treat the EFF. John, if he does the same thing that they said we can't do, they dare not touch them. They love their whites like that.
John Steenhuisen has declared you enemy number one.
Yeah.
And has he's couched something called the Doomsday EFF ANC coalition. He's saying this must be avoided at all costs. And they're going to have a moonshot. Is moonshot or moonshot pact? They're going to fly to the moon.
Yeah.
And make sure that you never even smell power. Right? What do you think of that? Do you think that that was a little bit, for lack of a better word, ill-considered to write off a party that's already number 3, that could easily be number 2 in the next election, ahead of an election? Or you think that it was good because you fundamentally are in opposite poles in terms of a possible coalition come 2024?
Well, I sympathize with him because he's number 2 and the EFF is breathing on his neck. So early January, Ipsos does a research, put the DA at 22, and then later around March or so, and first one put DA 22, EFF 13, and then come back around March to put DA 16, EFF 13. So the EFF hasn't grown, hasn't declined, but the DA has declined. And the DA has got authentic internal report that shows them that the EFF is passing you. So now you are busy fighting with number one, and there is a person here who's disturbing you. You have to stop so that you stop this one and then maintain your position so that you can fight with that one. So their stopping is because the EFF is breathing on their neck. And they've come to accept that the EFF is going to pass the DA. And then they do a moonshot pact and then exclude the EFF. The EFF would like to work with opposition parties to remove the corrupt ANC from power, but also to give the people of South Africa something different. But we cannot impose ourselves on the opposition parties. If they don't want us, we'll work with those who want to work with us. And therefore, but our preferred choice will be that the opposition parties should come together to unseat the ANC. And we've done this before. We went into the municipalities, removed the ANC, gave to the DA, gave to the IFP. When we said to them, now we are ready to govern, can you share a portion with us? They said no. And then what do you want?
Why do you think the DA did this? Was it to debase the EFF, not to be the leader of that, if you like, broad coalition, by saying, isolate the EFF, let's work together, let them go and fiddle there with the ANC?
No, the DA, firstly, is threatened by the EFF. Secondly, it's a racist organization that can't impose those racist attitudes on the EFF, because the EFF is the only organization that confronts racism openly without shame. Everywhere where it raises its ugly head. So they know that we'll speak for black people and will do so unashamedly. And speaking for black people does not mean hating on white people. We're speaking for the oppressed people. And the white people are not oppressed. It's the black people who are oppressed. So the DA knows that the EFF will drive this for the benefit of the majority of our people. Look at what we did in Ikuruleni. We came in today. The following day, we took the compactors into the township. And then DA was complaining that, look, the compactors are going to the townships. When we were in government, they were not going to the township. We're like, but it was you who was supposed to take it to the township. No EFF stopped you. But we came in and took the compactors and did waste management for our people in the townships. That's what they know the EFF will do. And they will do so unashamedly. And they know that the EFF will raise policy positions that are firm, and they will fight for those policy positions, and they will pass.
Let's talk about those policy positions.
Because we are going to expropriate land without compensation.
Yeah, I'm coming to that exactly.
Yes.
A lot of people are scared of that, right? And I want you today to just take us a little bit into the thinking about it. Let's talk about the land question. Between you and the ANC, right, you have failed to get the expropriation of land without compensation law passed in Parliament. And people were thinking, well, this is an opportunity now. EFF has put this resolution together. The ANC in their previous NASREC conference put the same resolution. So, everybody was excited that finally this thing can happen. And you deadlocked. And you can tell me a little bit about what that talk was about. But let's assume you go into coalition with the ANC, right? Whatever worst case scenario or however you look at it. What's going to change? How can we trust that this is not going to be another electioneering thing where the ANC just come onto the bandwagon of land just to excite people during the elections? You have put it as your non-negotiable pillar. I want to understand how it's going to be non-negotiable if you're going to enter into a coalition with somebody like the ANC, who has already rejected your approach to it.
Look, the ANC agreed on expropriation of land without compensation.
Yeah.
Parliament passed a resolution to expropriate land without compensation. And we did the road shows to listen to our people based on the motion of the EFF. And overwhelming majority of South Africans said, expropriate land without compensation. We had a meeting here in Sandton, the EFF and the ANC, to agree on the formulation that goes into the constitution. Bulelani Nguka was there, some advocate of the ANC, Malindi was there, Lamola was there, Kaba was there. We looked at Bulelani Nguka and we were like, this one we're going to have a problem with, he's going to give us a problem. And this Malindi, but Lamola and this one were together. From the Youth League, we've been pushing this. Lamola opposed expropriation of land without compensation the way we expected Bulelani Nguka to oppose it. Bulelani Nguka said, this is a good deal for our people who must agree with this. We need to agree that we're going to expropriate land without compensation. Kaba went outside to speak to whoever on the phone, and then they came back, they said, no, it's not going to happen.
What was the deadlock exactly?
The deadlock is that the current policy allows expropriation of land without compensation. And then we said, if that is your argument, then let's make it explicitly so that there is not too much ambiguity and misinterpretation and interpretation of what we seek to do. So I'm just saying to you, JJ, we were doing it. There was no electioneering. It went inside Parliament. Then when the time comes for us to now pass it, the ANC says, no, we'll expropriate state-owned land. How do you expropriate something that the state is already owning? Including, without compensation, including rotten land. What do we do with the rotten land? Because the land we're talking about is this land where we are now. We want prime land owned by the state. And when you started, you said people are scared of that. It's an imaginary thing. It's a sarkhafar. It's not true. This elite that stays in Midrand here, they are staying on a land owned by Indian. Who said to them, you are leasing for 100 years, 99 year lease. Beautiful houses are being built, not shacks, on a land that they don't own. There are no transfer costs here in Waterfall. You buy a house, you don't pay for transfer costs because the house will never be transferred to you. It remains on the land.
But wasn't the deadlock that, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, isn't the deadlock that you are saying the land must be in the hands of the state? And the ANC in this case will say, no, you must give title deed to the people directly. Is there a medium, a happy medium that you can reach so that this thing can pass?
There is no medium who can reach. I can only trust the state, not a family. If you can trust a family of Indians who were given land by Paul Crook or whoever, why would you not trust a land owned by the state? And the state says to you, the EFF policy is very clear. You don't lose anything. You declare this portion of land is under me. I use it for this purpose of hotel. And then it gets registered like that. You continue business as usual. Tomorrow we
but is it yours? Is it yours or does it belong to the state?
It's yours. The water belongs to the state. But when you drink that water from the tap, do you feel state ownership there? You don't feel any state ownership. The electricity belongs to the state. When you switch on, do you feel any state ownership there? That SABC belongs to the state. When you watch it, do you feel less ownership of what is in your house? It's not correct. The mineral resources used to belong to the Anglo-American. They were now taken to the custodianship of the state. And anyone who wants to mine in South Africa must now apply and be given a license by the state. No one now doesn't feel less owner of the mineral resources. So it is entirely incorrect.
Yeah.
Our people will never get the land for as long as the means to the ownership of the land is as is. Let's look at the policy of willing buyer, willing sell, right? Even if you can have money, JJ, for some reason the Oppenheimers give you money, and then you're willing to buy a land here in Sandton, and there is no willing seller. What's going to happen? You'll never own a land. So it doesn't matter even if you have money. It's worse when you don't have money.
How negotiable are you, though, to enter into coalition with people who see it exactly the opposite of you?
Look, those are ideological issues. Those are ideological issues. The first thing first is the people of South Africa. That you ought to join a coalition that says, we're going to end corruption. We're going to fight crime fire by fire. We're going to make sure that the youth of South Africa get employment. And those that are still looking for employment and they are graduates, there is graduates allowance to encourage the culture of learning and teaching in our communities. And make sure that the whole of South Africa is clean to restore the dignity of our people. Because you have not won elections, you can't keep on insisting, yes, these issues will keep on putting them. But there can't be a deal breaker that when we've got an opportunity to resolve the immediate challenges of our people and use that popularity to outrightly win the elections and implement these positions without any irritation.
That's an interesting angle. Let's apply it to the other pillar of banks. Can you just tell me how this is gonna? Let's say you get power tomorrow, right? The banks, almost all of the big 4, 5 banks belong to private sector. And what's interesting is if you look at the BEE charter around banks, is the poorest in as far as target is concerned. In fact, I think they said something like, in 5 years, and this was long ago, like 2007, in 5 years they would like 10% to belong to black people. So it's even under targeted already. So you can see that they're scared to touch that part of the economy. How are you going to, let's say you are in power in next year this time. How are you going to deal with this thing of banks? Are you going to say now all the banks belong to the state? Right? How do you do that? Because this is, if you like, an uncharted water, even by the current government. Even with the BEE law and so on, they still excuse them to say, no, you only have to give up 10% of what you are doing. And what's interesting now is when you want to do a BEE deal, you still have to go to the same banks to get to help you to buy into the new businesses, which actually means they now still own those businesses because you owe them and they can't transfer ownership to you until you finish paying, which hardly ever happens. Badge on that for me, right? The bank, this whole thing about we're going to want the banks to belong to the state. How is that going to happen?
It's very easy. What is the Reserve Bank doing in African Bank? Because it's not supposed to be in the shareholder in the bank. It's a regulator. Get out. The state takes that stake of the Reserve Bank. Then you consolidate it with the PIC stake. And then you take the African Bank. You make it a state-owned bank that will provide affordable services to our people. You close no bank. Why should the state bank close the private bank? When the state school did not close private school, when the state hospital did not close the private hospital, they still flourish. Who said that when you establish a state bank, other banks will collapse?
So I'm not sure why will you leave the banks as they are?
Leave them and will beat them on their game. We ought to provide the best services to a point where you will not see the need to bank with ABSA. You will bank with the state. And it's not true that private sector is inherently competitive and successful. In Kenya, private schools are closing because people are not taking their children to private schools. public education is providing
Private.
quality education to a point where
You don't need
private schools. So you don't behave like a dictator going around closing things. You make yours work.
But do you think
and attractive.
Do you think your message hasn't sunk in there? Because as you have said with the first area of land, even on this bank thing, there is a scarecrow mentality that says, there's going to be capital flight. These people are going to destroy the country. There'll be no foreign direct investment because they're eyeing the banks and they're just going to cause chaos. Do you think that with what you've explained now, that it's something that maybe it hasn't sunk in a way that you explain how you deal with that second bill?
We have said this since the times in the Youth League, that nationalization of mines does not mean taking any mine from Anglo-American. We are the ones who issue licenses of mining. You establish a big mining state company, and then you look for profitable mines, like the one in Mkopani, where Anglo is mining itself and is the only mine that they are mining themselves. The rest they've given other people. You look at a platinum that you can get, or it's not costly to mine here. You give to the state, or these ones go to the state. It's not expensive to mine here. We make money the same day we arrive. You are the one who issues licenses. The Department of Mineral Resources knows all the beautiful minerals in South Africa, all the farms. They will tell you this is there, this is there. They know it. So we don't go deep down mine going to look for non-existing gold. We don't want that. Wherever we go, it must be profitable. It must not be at a high cost for the state. And it must be done. That's interesting.
Let's link that to the SOEs. One of the pillars there is to say, let's strengthen the state. Right? What are you going to do differently on SOEs? The SOEs, half of them are bankrupt. Look at the debt book of Eskom alone. SAA had to go down to the gutters, and now it's being sold. It's going to be sold for 51 cents.
You're not telling the truth that SAA went down to the gutters. The SAA is proper. Firstly, SAA, it's an intervention by the state in that mode of transport. Even if we don't make profit there, it must generate enough funds to sustain itself. Because if we say we want SAA that is going to make a profit in a maximum way, they don't do that all over the world, by the way, the airlines. It's a state intervention in that mode of transport. Because if the state doesn't intervene, we cannot afford to fly to Cape Town. So it's the state intervening to make sure that there is a convenient method of transport.
So you're not worried about them coming as a begging bowl. I think the state has spent over 30 billion.
I don't want them to come and beg. I want them to sustain themselves. Yes, you need competent management that is going to raise sufficient funds through its own operations to sustain that institution.
Have you made an analysis whether you can do that with SOEs like the post office that's also bankrupt, it's on the red, right? Dinel, that's completely also, and they couldn't even pay their salaries for months on end, etc. So what are you going to do differently to make sure that these SOEs, are sustainable?
Firstly, Dinel, not so long ago, was a profitable company. Transnet was a profitable company. All of these institutions were collapsed right on our eyes by corruption, by incompetent people who were deployed there in the name of leadership deployment. When I sit now in the EFF and they say this person must be a CFO in Johannesburg or Igurlen or what, and then doesn't qualify, I tell you, I do not discuss people who don't qualify. And I even tell them, why do you want a job you don't qualify for? Because these are the requirements.
But in principle, so, you still have cadre deployment.
How do I govern? I hunt with my own dogs. Yes, because
But competent ones.
Yes. Ngasichie
Just na me, no. Yeah.
Bure bogo kayo tsuma ka yona. E ke yo tsuma ke tsama ka le togo. Ke mpia gare. E tlo bua le mmuta. Wa bona? So I can't do that. I don't, you know, when they came and said we collapsed Limpopo,
yeah,
right? Till today, they couldn't arrest anyone. Till today, they couldn't say explicitly, what have you done in collapsing Limpopo? Because it was a lie. When we were leading in Limpopo, Castle told us one thing and one thing only. You hire competent people, yeah, and you finish the job. Clifford Motsepe was a friend of mine running Department of Housing. Every year we finish the money of housing, go and take the money from Free State, go and give Limpopo. That's how much good we're performing. When they were putting that government under administration, they couldn't put Motsepe's government department under administration, because that is the department they wanted. The person who was more close to me was Clifford Motsepe. We never, and since I was born till this age, I've never sat in a meeting where we discuss crime. I come from a township where a lot of guys my age, even my section where I come from, they've been to prison, police cells and all of that. I've never been in that space, because I've never sat in a meeting where we discuss crime. Once you start doing that, I express my view and I discourage it. If you can't listen to me, I walk away. I don't do such things. That's why you can peddle any lie you want to peddle about us in relation to corruption, hey, this and that. The question is, these guys are in the opposition. If they collapsed Limpopo and you guys are in charge of government, why are you not going for them and finish them off? If these guys have stolen money from VBS, why are they always challenging you, disrupting you and all? Stop this thing, man, by arresting these people they've stolen from VBS. You've got the power. There's no day where we've been egg walking around the state because we've got our own issues that if we are not careful, they will arrest us. No. We speak truth to power unashamedly, even go into some method that are unheard of, without fear.
Yeah, talking about that
because we are not scared.
All right, I want to give my colleagues a chance to deal with you now.
No one can deal with you.
But before that, ESCOM quickly, big crisis. You 4 weeks ago, and I may be wrong about the time, you said in 2 weeks there'll be a grid collapse. Tell me, first of all, why you are convinced that there will be a grid collapse. Secondly, whether or not, with all the misgivings you may have about Ramokgopa, whether you think he has mitigated something. I know that on Sunday he came to tell us about that the energy availability factor is at 60%, and so, and there's no dealt with him on Monday. We are now back at stage 6.
It's waffling.
Okay, tell me more.
So you know, the grid collapse. The FBI met state security because when the grid collapse, it poses a security threat.
Sure.
Met with the state security and told them this thing is going to collapse. They met the state and said it's going to collapse, but our problem is not this collapsing. The problem is ANC politicians going on business as usual. Like there's no problem. You must be thanking me. Because after that press conference, they were running like headless chickens. People
to make sure the grid doesn't collapse.
Yes, people starting to say, no, we need to fix here, we need to correct this. And they never came strong to say the grid will not collapse. They said, we are mitigating the situation to avoid the grid collapse.
But don't you give Ramokgopa some credit?
What credit?
Small credit.
No.
Of
he
intervention.
Said, Sunday he came. No, we're cruising nicely. This winter, yes, enough. What's happening now?
But did you anticipate the snow on Monday?
No. No. Then he's a fool. Because we were sent messages before Sunday. I got a message that my child must come to school on Monday with a small blanket. My son knew it's going to be
So you
called
didn't even need
on Monday.
intelligence. You didn't even need intelligence. Yeah.
My son knew that it's going to be called on Monday than
So you
Ramokgopa.
just needed the weather report.
The whole minister didn't know that there is cold front coming and the demand is going to be high.
Yeah.
He came here and said to us in a 2 weeks time or so, he's going to bring 1,000 megawatts from Mozambique.
Yeah.
He said to us, he's going to plug the power ships. Where are they? We have a problem now. Where are they? Because he calls a press conference,
Yeah.
talks, and then it ends there. Nothing
In
changes.
your rally a few weeks ago, you accused him of corruption. I mean,
Yeah.
to put it bluntly and frankly, right? And you even mentioned Dr. Anamo.
He brought Dr. Anamokoko
Yeah, into the power
deal
ship.
of a power ship,
Yeah.
which he was not part of. Ramokgopa and Anamokoko,
Yeah.
monana le nala. O lebelle mo Ramokgopa a tsamayang ona, Anamokoko
Is that still the case now?
Yes.
Is Anamo part of that power ship deal?
all of a sudden Anamokoko o shetse a nkgelela
Power ship.
motlakase.
Yeah.
Asanga batamela mola Anamokoko
Yeah.
on the power ships. Motho ba funa the power ship ke Gwede's wife.
Yeah.
Uba le mo Gwede's wife
Yeah.
ya pala by Jian Twila by fa spoot. Then Anamokoko came into the deal. When I finished there speaking,
Yeah.
the messages I got from the people who are involved in the business of this electricity thing.
Yeah.
But thank you. We thank you very much because this woman is disturbing us. One of those people, Temberger,
Yeah.
Mogai Tobi, is representing them because they are in dispute with these people. So
So the power ship is not about to happen?
it will happen, but you know what you need to know, South Africans, is that even when we are at the height of a crisis, these people still negotiate their way. And if they are not getting a portion,
Then it don't
then it
happen.
won't go through. And I'm saying to them, at what point do we become patriotic and let go? Let these people eat as long as our people can get electricity. At what point? The power ships were signed last year. We spoke about them this year in the State of the Nation address. If
Yeah.
you listen to my speech, I said these things can happen because the ANC politicians are fiddling with it. They've been approved. But they say before we go ahead, we need our pushing.
And
Where's the
you are-
1,000
you are saying to me that culture you will break should you come to power, because people see you truly as a continuation of that culture one way or another, to say
I'm not.
are these people not going to eat? They're not going to have EFF linked companies eating.
No.
And what have you?
No, there will be EFF people who are in companies and all of that.
Yeah.
There must be.
And eat.
Not eat, do the work.
Yeah.
Can't who must come and work here? If it's not EFF people, they are also South Africans.
Yeah.
Let every South African who's got what it takes to work this country work it, and not on the basis of political affiliation. I strongly oppose that.
Yeah.
That no, we can't have this person as an HOD or DG because it's an EFF or it's an ANC. What does the CV say?
Yeah.
Is this person qualified?
Competent.
Is this person patriotic enough to lead this country? And before I look anywhere, I will look amongst the EFF people. Why? When ESCOM doesn't perform well, you don't say ESCOM. You are going to say, you see, this EFF government.
Yeah.
When it suits
Definitely.
you, no, don't send your people. And then when they fail, the people that are not my people, you come and blame me. Ereke khwele nama yegijileng. Kiska khwela sopon. So, leadership development means the comrades that are qualified, who have been to school, who are highly trained in this field. And the ANC, what is painful about it is that it took a lot of comrades to school and trained them. Now they isolate them for political reason and factionalism.
Final question from me before I give my colleagues. EFF, ANC, a coalition in Johannesburg, are you happy with that mode? People are a bit nervous that it looks like you guys, between you and the ANC, you are toying with Johannesburg, giving mayors who don't know what they are doing. We are now on mayor number God knows what, right? And then you got one now who's hiding, never wants to talk to anybody, under your watch. Summary there, what is the rationale? Why couldn't you just get either from you or ANC to take the mayorship? Because it looks like it's now a joke.
Well, I think you are unfair, and you are judging people harshly. He's a councillor. You don't start by the mayor. He's a councillor. And for you, yeah, for you to be a mayor, you must first qualify to be a councillor. Yeah. And then once you are a councillor, you qualify to be a mayor. Yeah. So instead of you guys talking mayorship, why are you not talking removing him as a councillor? It is the people's will that have put him in the council. It's not the EFF. It's not our member. We voted for him in the council because...
But is he the best foot forward? You've been talking about qualifications and competence and what?
The best foot forward. The problem is that his leadership style is not yours. We lead differently. When our rasa when our rasa. So he's got his own way of doing things. He goes to places.
Quietly.
Firstly, he gave...
He's leading quiet.
No, he gave the acceptance speech. Yeah. And for your information, he's smarter than the one that left
before. Yeah.
Very articulate. Yeah. And very knowledgeable about local government. And then he will visit projects of the municipality. Not with these road shows and too many convoys. No, it's a different kind of a cadre. But he's there. He's available inspecting the project.
So you have confidence in him?
That's why we elected him. So there are a lot of people that are your favorites who don't speak. And we never get to hear accountability from them, and you guys don't take them on. One of them is Jamnandas. I mean, Jamnandas can disappear for 4 months, and then the state-owned enterprises are collapsing under him. But no one has ever said Jamnandas is a bad leader. No one knows where the guy is. No one. But there's never been a story. But this one of the same color with me. Yeah. Because of our color, we are judged differently from other people. But the guy is there. Yeah. And look, the day he was supposed to answer questions, he even collapsed.
He got sick.
He got sick and he was rushed to the hospital. Not because he didn't want to do his job. Yeah. But Jamnandas didn't collapse anyway. And we don't see.
Ladies and gentlemen, the CIC of the EFF. Okay, I'm going to give you my colleagues. Who wants to start? Let's start in this table here. Remember the rules, guys. So I'm giving you time. You ask your follow-up questions. The CIC will respond immediately before we move on to the next person, so that it can become more of a dialogue rather than a long-standing thing where he'll answer at the end.
Oh, okay.
Just introduce yourself as you start.
Okay, thank you very much. It's Mzondi Limbeji from the SAPC. Mr. Malema, there has been a number of events as well in the country currently, especially during this month of July. I think 2 years ago, around this time, it was bad. So, and the reason was obviously, I think it was related to the incarceration of the ex-president. So we saw a judgment, was it a ruling? I don't know how which basically said, I think when all is said and done, he needs to go back to prison. So given what has been happening and some of those sporadic incidents around the trucks, so I'd want to hear your view around those matters. And then, of course, on the Mkhwebane thing, you issued a very strong statement, also following what the Constitutional Court has said. Just perhaps that response on that one before I follow up.
Look, the Mkhwebane judgment is bad. It doesn't matter how you look at it. President Zuma was told he cannot appoint the head of the commission of inquiry because he's implicated. That's how Zondo was appointed. That part of the things that are going to be investigated by this commission that we're seeking to establish are going to implicate President Zuma, and as a result, he can appoint a judge of who's going to preside the commission. Today, Ramaphosa can remove a person who is investigating him and says, I didn't know who was going to be the acting, even when it's not true. He knew who was going to be the acting PP. There is a deputy PP at that level. Galeka was a member. I'm not saying he's a member. I don't know what is the status now. Galeka led the ANC Youth League with us. And when we say with us, we're talking yesterday. And one of the questions these comrades, when they interview her now for this, they must ask her if she's still a member of the ANC. And if she says no, they must ask her, when last did you terminate your ANC membership? She was not just a member. She was a leader of the ANC Youth League in Gauteng. Then left to even advise Malusi Gigawa. Then you become an act and you exonerate a president, and then from there apply for that position. The reason why they say that position is 7 years is because you must not be influenced by the current leadership, because they know you don't seek anything after that. She's seeking something. She was not supposed to be the one presiding over that matter if she knew that she's interested in becoming a public protector. Now she exonerated the president because why? She knows the president has got majority in parliament and is going to have an influence on who gets appointed as a public protector. It therefore defeats the whole purpose of having a public protector who is 7 years old, after taking these decisions, will not apply for a job. We have a crisis here. This needs to be looked into. A person has taken decisions now. He's now going back to apply. Does it mean it defeated the purpose of saying 7 years to avoid you taking decisions in favor so that you can be reappointed? So the court that took a correct decision is the Western Cape court. The president was emotional. The president stood to benefit from that. We respect the decision of the Constitutional Court, but we disagree with it. We disagree with it respectfully. And the decisions of the court are not alpha and omega. No. Why would we study law if we can't read these things and disagree with them and rewrite our own academic papers to demonstrate how wrong this judgment was? It doesn't mean we can't implement it. We simply do not agree with it. And two things happened. Galeka, who wants to be appointed, exonerates the president so that he can be appointed. Maya, who's been nominated by the president, something unprecedented. When he appoints the Chief Justice, he says, I appoint the Chief Justice and I will nominate Maya when this Chief Justice finishes his term.
Yeah.
Your career was party, mama. You're going to be appointed. Where was age? Where now the judgment? This is a wrong person. A person who said you are going to be appointed even before nominations are called upon. He was bribing him even before. He finished him even before. That if I behave, I'm going to succeed.
After all, I've already been nominated.
I've been nominated just by the president.
I think
the other one, you know, when President Zuma was refusing to go to the commission and those things of the Constitutional Court, I went to visit him. And I pleaded with him. And I said, President Zuma, you don't lose anything. Go there and speak. And you're too senior, and I like it when you speak of the CAF. Go and put your perspective. It doesn't matter what the decision is. The reason why I came to is because we are going to inherit this country. We want to inherit and lead a country that has got functional judiciary, that has got institutions of the state that are respected by all of us. I don't want you to agree with me or disagree with me, but I came to express this view. And I went, when the decision was made, I went to see President Ramaphosa, that whatever happens, you may have to give President Zuma a presidential pardon. Flew a lot of people into this city, in and out, trying to mediate this underground to avoid what happened there in July, because I knew what was going to happen. I was involved to try and avoid what happened. And these are people that I'm nobody to them. Both of them played a role in my destruction, expelled me, took my things and did all manner of things. But for the country's sake, I had to swallow my pride and try and mediate a peace so that we can continue as a country. Yesterday, President Ramaphosa changed his phone. When I called yesterday, his phone didn't go through. I went looking for his phone number.
You changed his number?
Yeah, his number, phone number. I went looking for his phone number yesterday. And I called him, I said, no, I was not having the right number because I had this decision. And as when the time permits, we will make time and come and see you. Because again, we don't know what's going to be the decision of the Department of Correctional Service and them. But the president's hands are not tied. And that's what we want to remind him of. We reach a point where we must choose peace over all this type of things that we are talking about. To say no one is above the law and all of that. Zuma is served. It's enough. Why do you still want to ban this country after a person has served? He's served. It's enough. And then parole is another form, by the way, of sentencing. When they say you are on parole, doesn't mean you are free. There are certain conditions that come with parole.
Muzwa, follow up, please.
Yes, the quick follow-up on the Deputy Chief Justice Maya. You've basically said because of her being nominated, so that's why that kind of a decision. But let's remember that you sat in the JSC, which recommended Maya to be actually the actual Chief Justice. So how do you reconcile that? Before you answer, just a very quick one again. After the ANC Youth League was elected, I think he wrote something very interesting on the Twitter page about who they were and their masters. And then, given your friendship, or rather your comradeship with Fikile Mbalula, are you guys still in that friendship zone, or it is slowly collapsing because of politics? Thank you.
Look, we nominated President Maya to be the Chief Justice. If they had appointed her, perhaps this type of attitude wouldn't be there. She's not appointed. They are keeping her at arm's length. Or into yakho right. Wena just behave. But izinto zakho zihamba kahle. So if she was fully appointed, it's a different ball game altogether. Because she's appointed and she doesn't have to appease anyone. So people are being held at half clutch everywhere because they must appease the master. Otherwise, they will not be appointed. I mean, it's not a decision alone, but surely she wrote the judgment. She's the senior judge. She had some influence when they were conferencing on what is the best decision to take. It doesn't take away the fact that She's a good woman. She's a qualified woman. You can't question her qualifications. But we find ourselves in a situation where we are working with crooks that are collapsing our judiciary, and won't be shocked when they say they've infiltrated her and they want to delegitimize her. By the time that position comes, you may find that Maya is discredited and a different person must emerge altogether. So we said we needed someone who's going to serve longer to avoid what we are being subjected to now, where people will have to appease people.
You think
But when
Zondo
you
was being, what do you call it? Zondo was being rewarded?
Yes.
For the state
Zondo got 2 votes in the JC. Two.
Yeah?
Yeah. His colleagues interviewed him.
Yeah.
He got 2 votes.
Hey, okay, let's take someone else.
Well, he's not done
Also,
with
you have one more. Quickly.
No, he's not done with the Mbalula ANC Youth League.
But-
No.
Oh my God.
Look, Mbalula uses people. Survival of Mbalula in politics is using people. So he uses you, he dumps you. When they were going to the conference of the ANC, I called our friend Lunga in Cape Town, who was not supporting Mbalula, and I asked him, why would you do that to our friend? This guy, he might be having his own weaknesses, but we grew up together. Why? He said, Mbalula uses people, and I'm giving you much. He will not see you for anything. It didn't reach much. Immediately, when he left that conference, I was the first victim. Mbalula, when he went to the conference, he came from my house to the conference. And then from conference, he came out insulting me. And I'm like, you have an issue with me, you've got access to me. Why can't you raise the issue with me? So, and that's how he has been. He uses people politically, and then he dumps them. So, and if he loses his power now, he will come back to me like nothing happened. He will look for me wherever I am and want to continue business as usual. It took Mbalula how many years? 5-6 years for him to warm up to us. When we formed the EFF, we're not in speaking terms with Mbalula. Only now, recently, when they removed him from those things of ministers, and he started reaching out to us. And then it's not for the first time. A lot of his generation, the people he grew up with in the youth league, were not supporting his candidature. Why? So, you know, you just have to know him for who he is. We live with human beings, but we just have to know, otherwise we'll live alone, and it's not going to be nice. Just don't invest emotions in these types of characters who use people.
Okay, we have to move. Yes, next.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Gert van der Westhuizen from Netwerk 24. I just want to make sure, so you think a presidential pardon will prevent any possibility of violence at the moment? And
Yes.
sorry, can I ask you 2 other things? I'll be quick. If the DA had invited you to join the Moonshot Pact, would you have considered it? And do you ever see yourself working with them again in future? And then the last thing, there has been all these court cases about hate speech and stuff. There was a judgment this morning. Tell me how you feel about that, and what do you think the purpose of those court cases are?
Well, if the DA had invited us, we would have come on board, but we will not go to the moon because we must save the earth. So what are we doing in the moon? We're here. So we would have decided on something else. We have been more than willing to work with the DA. We even voted them. I said from the beginning, the coming together of the opposition to give our people an alternative is my first option. Is my first option. I've always challenged the media in South Africa, and I said, ask the DA why they don't want to work with the EFF. But the question is directed at us. As if we said we can't work with the DA. No. Ask them why you don't want to work with the EFF. The EFF that gave you Johannesburg, gave you Tshwane, gave you Kuruleni, gave you Nelson Mandela Metro, gave them everything in 2016. And then when we come after 5 years, we say, guys, we now are ready, we want to participate in government. They say, no. Well, now your job is to be a voting cattle. Vote for us. What type of nonsense is that? The IFP, the same thing. We give them 22 municipalities in KZN. We later say to them, guys, we're here, let's see, a mayor this side, a speaker this side, this way, that way. The IFP says, no, you are not getting anything. So when the IFP rejects us, and then what do? You want us to keep on voting for them even when they are rejecting us? We can't. But the EFF has demonstrated its commitment to the unity of the opposition parties long time ago. Look, from the beginning, our agenda to remove the ANC has been very clear, and we have given our vote to the opposition parties. In return, they just reject us. What, you see, you can talk about hate speech cases. What hate speech case? I won a case here in Joburg. You never wrote an article congratulating me about that case of AfriForum, which was represented by some incompetent Oppenheimer lawyer. They won. The leave to appeal is now going to the Supreme Court of Appeal. Then there is another case of land occupation, which is an EFF policy. It's also going to the Constitutional Court appeal, because they say when we say occupy the unoccupied land, it's unconstitutional, blah, blah, blah. So we're challenging that. Because our occupation of the land policy is to try and put pressure to speed up the process of redistributing land into the hands of our people. So we're not committing any crime. The Freedom Charter itself says you shall settle wherever you choose to do so. So the declaration of settlement anywhere we choose to do so as invalid and unconstitutional will be the declaration of the Freedom Charter as an unconstitutional document which was adopted by our people, and we are told that majority of this constitution derives its existence from the Freedom Charter. I think I answered all of them.
Follow up?
Just a question about why do you think people make all these hate speech cases, and then just a question about the presidential pardon, please.
Presidential pardon is proper. We must try and mitigate a situation where we avoid violence. We have seen 350 to 400 Africans died in July. We don't want a repeat of that. We don't. And if the president can intervene in the best interest of the country, that's good. Because he's not using the presidential pardon to pardon his auditor or his own lawyer or anything. It's not personal. It's for the cause. Zuma served. Zuma was released. He did not release himself. And therefore, we should respect that. The hate speech cases is to try and sidetrack the EFF. Yeah. There is an organization here in South Africa that thrives through hatred called AfriForum. Its existence is based on hate. They even remove our posters. They go and remove EFF rally posters with guns, carrying guns in baggies. We never remove anything of AfriForum. It's not a genuine cause. It's an act of hatred.
Okay. Let's. You're happy? All right. Let's move. All right.
The name is Rems Mavote. I'm a podcaster. I want us to laugh a bit. You know, things can get too serious, but this is a very serious question. Yeah. Congratulations on the 10 years.
Thank you.
Aren't you worried though? I mean, it could be 15 years. You could end up looking like Mangosuthu Buthelezi or Bantu Holomisa, end up going forever in opposition as the only leader. Aren't you worried about that?
Not at all. My intention is to leave politics at 55. I don't want to die a politician, because I've been in politics from 9 years. I know no other life except politics. So when the sooner I leave, the better for me to learn certain things. I'm also in farming, and therefore I think it will give me a different perspective of life. We're leading with very good comrades that must take over the EFF at some point. So I've got an appointment with Union Building, and then from there I'm out of here.
I'm answered.
Thanks,
That's what
Ram.
he said. The other guy
One
said
more.
the same thing. They had an appointment with Union Building. Never happened. So that's why I'm a bit worried. But I'm answered.
No,
I'm
but
answered.
those ones were not going to make it to Union Building, especially the IFP. Its intention from its formation has never had a destination with the Union Building. It had a destination with a tribe. It wanted to be a Zulu party, and it has achieved its mission.
Yeah.
It was a cultural group which turned into a political party. They never had a vision of South Africa.
Are you happy with your succession plan in terms of replicating yourself? Linked to that question of
Well,
rights.
you know, the good thing with the student command, and if you look at the leadership of the EFF, Vuyani and Busnawe and them, they are graduates of the student command. So the ability of the student command to produce the second and third layer leadership of the EFF is satisfying. And the majority, if you go through all the presidents of the student command and you get to listen to them, and you listen to the leadership that gets to be produced by the regions and provinces, you sleep peacefully, because you can hear that the EFF is spoiled of qualified
of
leadership.
choice, yeah.
And the good thing with the EFF is its emphasis on education. That because the biggest problem is the ability to just read with the understanding and be able to articulate that which you have read, so that you master the vision and the destination. The ANC people don't read. When we arrived in Parliament, you know, they used to say we must call each other honorable members. We said, no, why do you say that? But no, it's in the rule books. And then we said, there's no such a thing. They paged from the first page to the last page. That thing was not there. They arrived there and found the apartheid whites who remained in that parliament calling each other honorables. And they thought it's by law, by the rules of parliament, that they must call each other honorable members. That thing of honorable members is not in the rule book. They say don't call each other by name. They don't say call each other honorable, because they know others may not be honorable.
All right, let's go. Sophie.
Sophie Mkwena from the SABC. I want to start with, I remember when that ANC appeals committee took a decision that Derek Hanakom was correct to expel you. It was chaired by the current president, President Ramaphosa. As a group, I was traveling to Free State. You called me and you said, can you plead with these people not to expel us? We are ready to go to Cuba. We are ready to go to China for years to go and humble ourselves. And then you went to the late Winnie Mandela's house. I had to go back and do that story. Do you regret making that call, pleading that your membership shouldn't be taken? I remember Magaqa was the one leading the call, Lamula, you were all together, you were on speakerphone. 2, in terms of your relationship with leaders in South Africa, not necessarily the EFF leadership, how is your relationship with other leaders, current and previous leaders? Because as a leader of any organization or an influential person, you interact with everybody. What is your relationship? The third question, in relation to Jacob Zuma and you going to Nkandla, what was his demeanor when you approach him and made him aware that this is going to be a huge crisis, and here we are faced with this? And where is President Zuma? Do you know, or do you interact with him? On international issues, Zimbabwe is going to elections. Is there any prospect of this SADC country having a different future that will assist the entire region to be a better region? And finally, on Putin, there's a huge debate around our relationship with other countries. Government is saying we are non-aligned. President Lula, now back in the BRICS, he's pushing for a South-South cooperation rather than BRICS. And it's understandable because these are the people who are pushing for South-South, strengthen the developing South if you want to take on the developed North. What is your view on that? Thank you.
It's a full thesis.
Yeah. Well, you know, the painful thing about Zimbabwe's elections is that they already won. It's really a waste of time. And anyone else who's going there, I mean, Chamisa won elections the last time. And they just told them like that. And then when the people try to rise, they get beaten. They already won. And then now Tyson wants to come in. They manipulated the processes. They block him. Because Mnangagwa won with 30,000 votes. 35,000 votes. For you to get a threshold, for him to get a threshold, he got 35,000 votes. If Tyson comes in, he's likely to take not less than 100,000 votes, and Mnangagwa doesn't reach a threshold, and Chamisa doesn't reach a threshold, then it's a stalemate. Then there will be a rerun, and if they still don't reach the threshold, then there must be a government of national unity, so that they buy some time while they are still preparing for other elections. So the only intervention that can be made is by Zimbabweans who are all over the world. They are found in London, they are found in Botswana, they are found in South Africa. They need to take a conscious decision to go back home and vote. No one says go back and stay there and don't come back. If they've got what it takes, they will come back. But the country is in a crisis, and you are not going to resolve that crisis by staying out of the country. They have to make an appointment with going back home to go and vote. And the numbers must be so decisive such that even rigging becomes impossible. Because rigging happens when the contest is too close. But if the margins are too high, it becomes impossible. So the people of Zimbabwe must decide what they want and go and do the right thing. Otherwise, Mnangagwa is going to lead them, and not in a correct manner. When they try to rise, they are going to be suppressed. President Putin must come to South Africa. Everywhere else where Putin will be passing, there must be immunity. Putin is not coming to South Africa. Putin is coming to BRICS. And there ought to be that difference where South Africa declares a certain territories as BRICS territories. The way we do with embassies and all of that. No one can just walk into any embassy here and say, no, you want to pull out a person from that embassy. No, it's not South Africa. It's an embassy of the USA. It's a Russian embassy and all of that. Where this meeting is going to take place, we ought to declare that a BRICS territorial area. And then say to these people, there is nothing we can do. He's not coming to us, he's coming to attend.
We did with the UN when the World Summit was here.
Yes. So, and we allow BRICS to proceed. those arguments by President Lula and all of them, they ought to take place in that context where they can engage as leaders in terms of the types of the formula and the structure that they need to take in order to have a functional multinational body that will be seized with all these matters. ICC is inconsistent, and America is not a signatory, yet wants other people to be signatories and subject them to the law that they do not subject themselves to. We cannot allow that. So if we are going to continue with ICC without it being challenged, it has to be consistent in the application of its laws. They continue to make mistakes. Bushi, now Biden, in their speeches make reference to Afghanistan because it's haunting them. It's haunting them. Iraq is haunting them. Why did they come and kill brother leader here, Gaddafi? For what reason? So there was no need. So, and everywhere else they went in the name of peace, they left destruction. There's no mission they took which has arisen in giving sustainable peace. And therefore, we can't say NATO, it's a peaceful organization. It's a war organization. It's a war organization. And unfortunately, we voted for the destruction of Libya. And when we raised that matter in the ANC, and we raised it sharply in the ANC and disagreed with Zuma, that we were told we were disrespectful. We were told we are young, we don't know what we are talking about. That thing is haunting us. He comes to the Youth League conference, he reads half of the resolution of the UN. When Floyd completes the resolution, because Zuma said no, we said no flight zone. And then he leaves it there. Floyd screams from the back and says, and any other necessary means. Because any other necessary means is the one that allowed these people to enter Libya and distract it. He doesn't want to read that part. And then he says to Floyd, inside the conference, because we're exposing him that you are not reading the whole thing. And China could not veto the resolution. Russia could not veto the resolution. Why? South Africa voted for it. If South Africa had voted against that resolution, China and Russia would have vetoed that resolution. Gaddafi will still be alive. So, and we spoke these things. No one will ever, I mean, people write books about nationalization, about things we spoke about, including Marikana. Documentaries are done, and then we just get expunged out of that history as if we were never there, giving a particular perspective which has been proven over a period of time. Because if you do that, you are legitimizing them. Look, I have no regret of saying I want to remain in the ANC. I've got no regret. I would have corrected the ANC from within. Because I've never wanted to form a political party, and I will never form another political party if this EFF expels me. It's not a child's play. You don't just wake up in the morning and then you say you form it. It's difficult. We are still forming it even now, 10 years down the line. I said to them, take my membership, suspend me for 10 years without occupying. No, leave my membership, suspend me for 10 years plus without me occupying any position of responsibility. And you can take us to Cuba, to China for political education. Dariganokom suspended us for 5 years. Me 5 years, Floyd 3 years, Magata 1 year. When we did an appeal, mine changed from 5 years suspension to expulsion. Cyril changed it to expulsion. Henokom didn't expel me. I was expelled by Cyril. And then Floyd 3 years. Floyd was not expelled. He resigned on his own. And then Magata remained. And then he finished his 1 year. I said to them, leave me with the membership, because I knew I don't need to be a member. I had already made a huge impact. I don't need to be a leader. As long as you will allow me to be in an ANC rally, as long as you will allow me to be in the ANC conference, as a cleaner there, as a volunteer who packs, I will kill you. I will finish you. I don't have to be a delegate. As long as I can be amongst you. And then they knew at that time that this request is very dangerous. Because I don't want nothing. Just membership, it's enough. But no, we don't want those things. Then they expelled me. I accepted. Also, when I left, I was not going to form a party. I left. I went to do farming. I did crops, cabbage, I did tomato, and then I did cattle. The ANC went on January 8 in 2013. That Sunday, I can't remember who did the article for City Press, came to interview me. I don't know if it's Japheth or what. Came to interview me in my farm. I'd now accepted my fate. I left. I'm doing farming. I'm no longer. My interview is about what is your next life. No, you can look at me. I'm in the farm. I'm farming. I'm okay. Politics is not for me. They don't want me. ANC tradition is such that that Sunday of January 8, all front pages are ANC. But that day front page was me with the cabbages.
Cabbage.
And that thing irritated Praveen. Why is he still having a farm? Why is he still having a farm? Then they came to take my farm. And then invited me back into politics. That's why when a person says to me, no, they say I'm what? This thing they always say,
flip-flop.
No, they're like this prophet of a church, like cult. Yeah, it's a cult.
That.
It's a cult.
Yeah.
A cult that goes home. Because a cult would have moved from the ANC and say, follow me. I've never been a cult. I left. And I didn't live with anyone. I never said to anyone, let's go and form a political party. I left and went to do farming. That's the reality of the situation. Now, you take the farm. That is the second thing I know. By doing that, then you invite me back into politics. That's why I'm back here.
Have you forgiven Cyril? If next
I've
year
forgiven everyone.
You can work with him.
He's a crook. I can't work with him.
Oh my God! All right, let's.
But you didn't answer my question on leadership.
No,
I'll do a follow-up. I
relate with all political leaders. President Mbeki, I've got a very good relationship with him. At any time, I can take a phone call him, and go and seek guidance on this or that. He does the same. If there are issues that he needs, clarity from the EFF, he makes a call and invite us. The same with President Zuma. I missed President Zuma this Monday when he was leaving to Russia because we had our own war council. President Motlanthe and all political leaders. And I'm one person when I've got an issue with any leader, be it Steenhuisen, be it General Olomesa, Musi, or anyone, I take the call and I make a call and I sell my views. They can reject them, but I'm not shy to express them.
All right, I've got
a relationship.
I've got to move. Let's go to this extreme.
A hand has been up here. Yeah.
All right, I'll come back to you. Let me start. You're fine. All right. All right. No, I'll come back to you. The SAB is dominated. It's 3 people from the SAB. It's dominated. This is now it's a monopoly. No, come.
Thank you very much. I'll be very quick. My name is Conita Hunter from the News 24. What did President Cyril Ramaphosa say to you yesterday when you asked him for the presidential pardon for former President Zuma? Did you end up speaking to him?
No. We didn't speak about presidential pardon. I got his number, and then I called him. We spoke about other things, and then we agreed we'll make time to meet.
Other things like what?
No, our things. It was a private call.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when do you envision, and what is the case are you going to make to the president?
No. I've not made that call because the judgment is not what you guys are saying. The judgment says the Department of Correctional Service must still make a decision.
Sure.
So I can't go to president and say, talk about a non-existing decision.
But you would.
But if they say he must go back, I will go to him and argue my case with him that the guy is sick, the guy is old, his struggle credentials, his service to the public office, and the fact that he served time in prison, and fact that parole on its own does not mean you are free. You are still continuing to serve even from outside. It's enough for you to give him a presidential pardon to avoid a possibility of instability which was experienced yesterday.
I just have one very quick question.
Yeah.
You faced a lot of criticism at the State of the Nation address when the EFF, pounced the stage where President Cyril Ramaphosa was addressing the nation, and there's a sense of fatigue in society about the EFF sort of taking this kind of violent positions, whether it's storming stores or that type of thing. And we saw it, you've done it many times at State of the Nation address. You are 10 years old now. Like you're saying, you can pick up the phone and speak to President Ramaphosa. So there seems to be a disconnect between the political maturity that you have when you engage with political leaders and then what the theatrics that we see on television and what South Africa sees. Can you just reflect on that a little bit? Thank you.
It's a protest, and it has got no formula. If you have not been to the picket lines, you will know that protest does not have a formula. Parliament is the highest stage of protest. When I climbed on the stage, I carried with me a placard, and I was going to silently protest on the stage. It is permissible, it is allowed, for as long as it doesn't have the party logos. But because you want to define how people should protest, you have a problem with how the EFF protest. I can talk to President Ramaphosa on the phone. I can greet him on the phone. I remain an opposition member. I've got my right to still protest. And that's maturity of politics in South Africa. There's nothing violent about that. And in most cases, once the EFF does what we did in Parliament, you are guaranteed to see another parliament doing the same thing that the EFF did. You need to ask yourself a question. Which rules did they break in Parliament? If we have not broken any rule, why do you have a problem with that? We are still members of Parliament. We are not charged because there is no rule we broke in Parliament. And then once there is no violation of the rules, you can't say no, it's a problem. I mean, the other day I said, in the EFF we encourage people to donate 95,000 below the threshold. And then the journalists call around, why do you do what you are doing? And I said to the spokespersons, tell them you are not violating any law. You are saying to people, comply with the law. If you say on 120 zone, Floyd, drive 119, why would a traffic cop stop me and ask me, why are you driving 119 on 120? So they just, even when you do something that is illegal, because it comes from your mouth, they want it to sound like it's illegal. If John Steenhuisen had done that thing I did, these questions were not going to be asked. So John, even after that day where we now resorted to taking up the placards, and it is because they said no one is going to speak now, it's done. You're not. Then we decided, okay, since you are refusing us to speak, we take out the placards. We are going to protest in silence. Then they pushed us out. What happened? Which media wrote about John Steenhuisen speaking after people were chased out, told not to speak, and they insisted on speaking? John spoke. You know what saved John? The color of his skin. You look at how the ANC treats the DA in Parliament and treat the EFF. John, if he does the same thing that they said we can't do, they dare not touch them. They love their whites like that.
Okay, Juanita, you happy? All right, let's go this way. Yes. No, go on now.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Malema. My name is Lukhanya Khalat, Newsroom Africa. Sir, I've heard you in the past speak about the relationship between the formation of the EFF and the relationship with the Marikana massacre, and how closely aligned those two are. Now, for the bulk of my career, I lived and worked in Cape Town. I only moved up last year, exactly a year ago. Last week, Tuesday, I had the opportunity to travel to Marikana to go and do a site visit actually there. And we went and we stopped the car. And, you know, I was surprised at we were able to literally just drive and park our car on a space that should be a sacred space because of 34 people were massacred on that space. And we parked, and I didn't know that we were actually on the space. I had to ask around as to where's the site. And then people said to me, no, this is, you actually on it. And the thing that struck me while I was there is a conversation that I was part of, and you mentioned the relationship between the EFF formation and Marikana. But I looked around and there wasn't a single plaque or a cross or anything that kind of recognizes that space for what it is. And there's a bit of a disjuncture for me there, Mr. Malema, because you speak so well about speaking for the African. And yet at that, on those hallowed grounds, if I may refer to it like that, the EFF hasn't done anything to memorialize those lives that were lost there at the guns and at the hands of the state, which makes me think. And then now again, you like the EFF is going to bring a rally there. Is that a wise decision to bring people to come and celebrate at a space that should be sacred, at a space that should be protected almost, and revered for the fact that those lives were lost there? I think I'm going to stop there for now. Thank you, sir.
Well, the EFF was formed there on the 10th of August, 13th of October 2013, just after the massacre. Because we have taken a conscious decision that that name must never be forgotten. And that to stay away from Marikana will be allowing those who want the name to be forgotten a space to close that chapter. So our constant revisitation of that place is to keep the name alive and for generations to know that people were killed here. There is a call by AMCU that the government must do some development there to declare that place some sacred place and declare the 16th of August the Workers' Day, because workers were killed on that day. So we don't want to make it political by putting something EFF. We want everyone to feel free to contribute, to visit without aligning that space with political party. And we are happy that AMCU is actually taking those initiatives. It has made that call, and we are supporting them. That it must be a sacred place. It must somehow be fenced. It must be protected so that generations to come, they can be reminded of the bad things that happened there under the current government. I don't see it happening because this government will not want to put a memorial which is going to say they are the ones who killed people. it will need a different kind of government. These things that we are talking about with JJ, about the cardinal pillars and this and that, part of the demands would be, we need that place cordoned off, and some particular memorial put with the names of those who died there, for generations to come to know that one thing terrible happened here and it's not worth forgetting. So our going back there, firstly, is to just retrace our steps, because that's where we're publicly launched as the EFF. But secondly, is to keep the name Marikana alive.
And then if I may, so yeah.
I've noted you will come to.
Do you want? I'm happy to give it to you. All right. If I may, Mr. Malema, and then let's then talk about the issue of justice, particularly for those minors. We have seen over the past few years almost, just the lack of justice that has, people who were intricately involved never being held accountable for the lives of those minors. And it seems to me that unless we really deal with that issue of justice, the issue of Marikana, it's always going to become this very sad moment in South African history. But yet, again, people never being held accountable. I mean, you and I have had separate discussions around, apartheid-related murders and all of those kinds of things. But this is an incident that happened under the watch of the African National Congress. And what does the EFF, what can you do, what will you do in terms of ensuring that the people that were responsible for that massacre, which is not very different when you compare it to Sharpeville, it's basically the same thing. But what do we then do in a democratic constitutional republic to hold those people accountable for the lives that were lost on that day?
Thank you. I think one of the things people don't know, Floyd, is that when those workers were arrested, they were taken out of prison by us. We got them lawyers, took them out of prison. The first memorial service of a Marikana massacre was organized and paid by us. And all those people who spoke, they spoke on our invitation, including President Matunjo, by the way. The ministers who were there they did a stage next to the copy. We did a separate tent away from the copy. And the workers abandoned that stage of the ministers and came to us. And then the ministers abandoned their own stage and came to us. And then we told them, you're going to sit on the third row because we don't want people to see your faces. You are responsible for what happened here. From there, we got the lawyers to go and take the names of all those who were in hospital. Because they wanted them to be compensated. So, Dalimbofu, Andres, there used to be a lady as well. We put those lawyers together. And then I opened the case at the Marikana police station against Cyril, against Susan, against Natim Tetwa, and Pierre. So I've got a case number, and so they may try tricks now because it's them who are in power. But the fact that we opened a case and we've got a case number, when the changes happen, we'll always go back there and say we need accountability of who killed these people and for what, because not a single person has been arrested since the killing of those Marikana workers. So we also even donated money, not less than 1 million, to the widows to try and build them houses, to make them comfortable as we are still busy fighting this battle. Some portions of monies have been released. Not all monies have been released. I think Dali and them have got some explanation to give about the monies and all of that. But I think there was some process that was already unfolding to try and compensate the workers. Even the case that the state must pay the lawyers of the workers was funded by us. Raulinga was an acting judge in that matter, where we are saying there's no money. You kill these people and you know they don't have money, you're going to pay their lawyers so that they can continue to fight you. And that's how they were managed to get representation in the commission. What was that, the guy's commission? And Falam Commission and all of that. So we've been there, and we are going to make sure that we are not just celebrating there.
Okay.
We keep the flag flying until someone is held accountable.
All right, I want to take some more. Okay, let's go there and I'll come back to you.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Kofi Kwaku. I'm with the Center for Africa-China Studies at UJ. I have 3 quick points. The first 2 are questions. The last one is a request. Now, it's less, the request is going to be less political. The first one is I would like to piggyback on what Ms. Mokoena of SABC talked about. Next month, there's probably on the geopolitical calendar one of the most important events in the world, which will be shaping the rest of the world. I know she's already asked you a question. I want to know, what are the concrete plans for the EFF to conscientize people about this coming change in the world and the role of Africa and South Africa for that matter? The other one is there seems to be a brutal US war on South Africa. This is something that's not quite clear. People are not connecting the dots. And there are many events that are telling us this. The first one, of course, is the US ambassador's arms sales allegation and pressure on South Africa. The second one is the AGOA, they're trying to get South Africa out of this AGOA deal and force South Africa to lose preferential trade treatment with South Africa. And the other one is, there are many others, but let me probably stop there. But, maybe I should. There are 2 languages. If many of you remember, there's English and French. My question is, what is French still doing on that passport? Can the EFF take this as a serious matter and find an African language on that? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I have not been paying attention on the French part. Yeah. But it's a very interesting point that we will take up with the authorities. I fully agree that there is a war by the US to undermine the sovereignty of South Africa, because by threatening us to take a position or else we're losing the benefits of AGOA, is to try and dictate a foreign policy. And the current government has got a duty on its own to defend its sovereignty by standing firm and say we are non-aligned and we are not going to be bullied by the USA to take side on its war with Russia, because we know for a fact that it's not Ukraine. It has got no capacity, none whatsoever. It's a war that is being fought by the US against Russia through Ukraine and NATO. So far, under very difficult circumstances, because we are not led by decisive leadership, so far we are trying to do best with the current minister, who from time to time try to push and defend the sovereignty of South Africa, because that is very fundamental. If we let go with these benefits that we seek to achieve from AGOA, then we should know that our foreign policy positions are decided somewhere else, and therefore there is nothing sovereign about South Africa. We can just close shop and allow America to send the notes for us on what to say and not what to say. So our existence is to guard against that and put pressure and ensure that the sovereignty of South Africa, it is protected. The summit indeed is present different dynamics in the world, and we are happy and we're educating our people about these issues that are taking place. Especially one of the issues that we are interested in is doing away with the dollar as a middleman, and that discussion is very, very important, that we follow it up and support those initiatives, because why should we trade with someone else's currency when we have our own currencies? So the world will be sitting, trying to come up with alternatives in terms of the geopolitics, and South Africa is ready to receive the world and contribute positively towards changing the dynamics in the geopolitics.
Good. Let's come back here.
Thank you, JJ. Mr. Malema, my name is Zain Samar. I'm from New Zealand, Africa. Just a quick question, one question from me. You often speak very informedly and very emphatically about the ANC leadership, the lack of qualities of leadership, the factionalism within that party, etc. Obviously, given your own intimate and extensive relationship and participation in that party, I wanted to ask, and also given your intention to, when and should it happen with regards to the former president, that you will petition Cyril Ramaphosa for a potential pardon. All of this in an attempt to create stability. What I wanted to ask you, Mr. Malema, is given 2024 and the fact that this is the first time that there's a real possibility, if one believes all the analysts and everybody else, that the ANC will be pushed under 40%, which would obviously necessitate a different kind of government. Are you, given your intimate knowledge of the ANC, are you concerned that at any point the current crop of leadership is prepared to hand over that kind of power? Are you prepared? Are you concerned that, given your intimate knowledge of what happens in Zimbabwe and how ZANU-PF has, in your words, rigged elections, are there concerns on your part that these might be dynamics that we're going to have to contend with come 2024, given the kind of a national dynamic, given the kind of political situation as it is unfolding in the country today?
Well, we in the EFF are investing a lot of resources in the party agents. We need to train party agents, and that's why it's important for opposition parties to work together so that we look after the votes of every opposition, because others may not have the capacity to be in all the voting stations. So instead of coming together now and work together towards defeating the ANC, you find a situation where people are fragmenting the opposition. So we should consolidate every little resource we have and then go and look after our votes and make sure that every vote that belongs to the opposition, it is protected. And EFF party agents must look after the DA votes if the DA does not have the party agents, so that we avoid a situation where the votes are stolen. Because I'm convinced in the previous elections, 2019, votes were stolen here in Gauteng. How do you win the elections with 50.1? What do you call that? And by the time they said the ANC won the elections, Paul Machatile had called us to Saxon Hotel, coming to negotiate a coalition, and said, guys, the results are in, we've lost. Are you prepared to come to party with us? And then we said, no, but what do you mean you have lost? The results are not out. He said, we've got party agents everywhere. We collect before even the IEC announces the official results. The ANC results are saying we've lost. As we're talking, he takes the phone call. They call him. He goes outside. And then he comes back. He says, no, we made it. Yeah. But yet he had conceded and he had called us to a meeting in Saxon Hotel. So they didn't win Gauteng. And you know what they did? If you remember, they sent soldiers into Alexander. And I said, we accept these results because I'm not going to put the lives of our people in danger for the sake of the votes. But equally, the EFF did not have a properly oiled machine. When you say these people have taken the votes, you ought to produce every receipt of every voting station. So now we are going to employ this guy who was in the IEC, Terry Zelane, to go and appoint EFF party agents and train them. And he must have the means with them in all the voting stations. And if it means we must pay money, we'll pay money for voting, for party agents. Because they don't play. So the only way to succeed is to defend the votes. And is defend them with evidence. Because you are not going to just start a war here and say people have stolen votes, and then when they say produce, you have nothing to produce.
Do you have confidence in the IEC, in simple terms?
Well, we've no option, Shem.
Okay, so you're happy? All right, let's see who's next. Okay, let's go over there. Go ahead. Just I can't see anything. Just introduce yourself.
Thank you.
I'll come to that.
Thank you, JJ.
Oh, I'll give you. Don't worry, you will all talk. We still have an hour. Yes, go ahead.
My name is Madume Jatobakale, CEO of Kasi Broadcasting. Ke kula bolela mo ka dilo tše pedi tše tharo. Mara ye kgolo e tantšantšhedi molaodi wa o mogolo wa banola ditokelo tša moruo wa naga ke ya gore maabane ke kolo bolela ka gore EFF e na le naga, e na le farm ebile la ba la slothera gona ebile la mathomo ke kwa tabae ya le putšha ka gore na ka ntle le farm eo le Winnie Mandela House, what other strategic assets does the EFF have? That's number one. Number two, ogola ka fase ga tlhokomelo ya koko Sara wa re tlogetse gone bjale ebile ra ba le mme Winnie Mandela le ena re tlogetse. At that particular time you were busy, ebile o sa le busy ka go godiša EFF along with the other leaders of the EFF. Now pitse go orna situation e ka moka ya go tlogela ke batho ba bagolo ba o thusa mo go bona e go tshwere bang le gore o be motho o leng moetapele ngwe le nyena gone bjale, and as you continue ya mafelelo ke mabapi le BRICS invitation. The question is, are you invited to the BRICS? That's number one. Number two, if you are invited, what role are you expected to be participating on? And then what is that the EFF, if they're invited and the role is going to be there, what is that the EFF is going to be contributing? And lastly on that one is, what will be the benefit of us as South Africa? Thank you.
No, relebo mshabi. Munola regena tuwa khalege mshabi. So le nag mshabi. So we don't have a BRICS invite because BRICS is government to government relations, so we're not there. And then the BRICS political summit is an ANC meeting, it's not our meeting. So the ANC decide who they invite and who they don't invite. So you can't be complaining that the ANC doesn't invite you to their own meeting. I mean, we have our own anniversary, we're not inviting them. So it's the same. So it's their own. So what they do, they call parties that are aligned to them. from BRICS countries and then have their own summit, political party summit, but it's not an official thing of the state. Only the August one is state to state, and we are in opposition, and members of parliament were not invited. Only the executive get invited. There was an attempt to take an initiative in parliament where we said to Speaker Nosiviwe, please do the BRICS Parliamentary Summit, where parliaments of BRICS come together and all of that. But because they are lazy, she didn't do it. But we thought it was going to be an opportune moment for BRICS parliaments to exchange notes and ideas and experiences and share views on this or that issue. We own the farm. That farm that you saw, that's where we're going to build Winnie Mandela Combined School. The primary and the high school, and the boarding. They will also have a boarding. And that school will take orphans from HIV and AIDS and COVID, because COVID has killed a lot of parents. So they will stay there. In the conceptualization, we also have a clinic, professional nurses and doctors and all of that, because I believe very strongly, and I tell Robert Gumede this, that there are black people with a lot of money, but they don't build schools. With lots and lots of money. And schools, that's where our problem comes from. Whatever we learn at school, we go with it to the grave. And that's where the desire to own school comes from. The problem that occurred, the reason why building is not up, we had 2 years of not doing anything. Remember that COVID took us out. But as we speak now, the plans have been approved. The contractor should be moving to site anytime from now onwards. We are committed to building that school, and we want to be the first black party that owns a school and put money into the school. Because look at these African right-wingers. They build universities, they build schools. We don't do anything school. And then you look at the types of cars we drive. We look at the types of houses we stay in. If we cut anything we have by half, not all of it, and put together, we can build the most beautiful school. So, and in the same farm, we are going to build a hotel, a conference facility, where all national meetings of the EFF are going to be held. So they are not held at Winnie Mandela House. They are held at the farm. Why? So that the EFF can have a permanent relationship with that school. Because if they don't have anything that takes them there, even when the school dilapidate, they may not see. So you do something that will force them to go there. And because they go there more often, then they will be able to look after that particular school, even beyond Julius Malema. Because you don't plan it now, that because I'm here, I'll look after it. The other people may not share the same vision. You lock them into that vision to make sure that there is a permanent link. Later on, we can even sell the school back to the state and say to the state, buy the school, put it under yourself, but you must know we have this relationship with this particular school. And we've got the approvals from the family, is very happy, and that's what we want, a legacy of school. Many people don't have that. They've got legacies of cars and beautiful clothes and houses. Let us be the first generation of politicians who say we are going to use our own resources to build a school, and even go beyond to ask others to come and help us to build this school.
All right. Follow up?
Yeah. Oh, well, you know, I always have tell Vianney that we are the elders now. Those who were older are no longer there. I just lost yesterday, was the day before, my grandfather, who was the last born of my grandfather, so a sibling. He was the only remaining link with the Malemas. So Vianney says to me, no, condolences, there's nothing we can do because now, as they pass on, they leave that responsibility with us now. So di khomo tšele di nkule di pudi before di thaba ke rena re santse re di tsubiše letsoko di ethimong yo bona o sana ba kgekolo o sana ba khala
All right.
ke rena ba khala be ba ona.
Hello. Yeah,
Raido.
I'll come to you now. Raido?
Who give up?
How? Please pass the mic to him. Yeah, okay.
Hi, my name is Aido. From leadership. Yeah, okay. Just one question, man. It's actually not only directed to you, the EFF party as a party, but political parties, right? Because if you look at the history of our struggle and whatever and all these things, right? Especially in the 80s and whatever, it was a people's revolution because there were people's structures on the ground, you know, that actually drove the revolution. Street committees, consumer boycott committees and whatever. And what the ANC did, unfortunately, after when they came into power, they demobilized those people's structures. And then now we are focusing on parliamentary politics. And that's what all the parties are doing now. I mean, all the things that you are doing now is, you know, to win support so that you get elections. Now, the criticism, especially, I would say, for leftist parties like yourself, which would believe that you believe you are revolutionary in outlook. There's a question that there's a gap between political parties and people structures. And you are focusing too much on parliamentary politics, you know, get elected and whatever. And that revolution will always create a gap. That approach will always create a gap between people, you know, and those political parties. And you can see practically sometimes how it happens. It's, of course, I mean, if there's a problem in deep slot, you know, as EFF, other political, you'll go there, pay bail for the people who are arrested. But what you need is organic structures, you know. Because, for example, I mean, what is the relationship between most of the political parties and grassroots organizations like the Amadiba community, you know, those kind of things that are dealing with critical issues. What's your comment?
Well, we in the EFF have recognized the need to participate in the organs of people's power. So, of late, you've got hospital boards, you've got SGBs, you've got community forums, you've got ward committees, and so those are organs of people's power because those are the structures that govern day-to-day lives of our people apart from parliamentary politics. And it is important that we participate actively, and I agree with that narrative that if we don't participate at that level, we run a risk of creating a gap between people structures and parliamentarians or political parties. So we have noted that, and they know part of the report is to report how many members do we have in the community forum, how many members do we have in the street committee, how many members do we have in the hospital boards, how many, because we must not create that distance between ourselves and other formations.
All right, follow up or you are happy?
Yeah, sorry. You see, those are formal structures because SGBs are, to schools and whatever. But they are grassroots organizations that are out of the formal, but which are part of the people's revolution. What is your relationship with those? I mean, for example, even the labor movement or those organizations that I talk about now, those are which are organic organizations that are dealing with their issues on the ground. In fact, in these cases, like some journal and those people are actually fighting against government, and I just want to know what is the link between you and those, isn't that, don't you feel that is and it's because of we are operating within parliamentary politics, and don't you think that's a weakness in terms of the approach of most political parties?
Yeah, but those structures, formal as they are, we always said in the 80s, we need organs of people's power. So Batalibom John Dolo is an organization on its own, and it cannot take a decision to relate with the EFF. I mean, Batalibom John Dolo, for instance, the other time they said people must vote for DA. It's an organization, independent organization. But structures where we can all participate without anyone saying we don't relate with this one, we relate with that one, is those organs of people's power that somehow are viewed as formal structures, but they are running day-to-day lives of our people on the ground, and they are the ones that give you direct contact with what is happening on the ground. But any organization that is progressive in nature, that deals with community-based issues, if EFF see it as a force to work with, will never avoid working with them. Those are the kind of structures we want.
Okay, but let me just see how many people still want to talk so I can budget the time. There's one, there's two, three, four, okay.
Five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, fine, let's start there.
Thanks, JJ. It's Murio Sanyani from Power FM. Mr. CIC, the EFF has pronounced that it is a government in waiting. And as a government in waiting, we observe the EFF behavior and attitude in parliament and whatever. And through the Deputy President, Fred Shivambu, when you tabled the motion for debate around the illicit financial flows, it was debated, but it is common cause now that South Africa is grey listed. And we are battling to control transnational crimes that are happening in the country. And it is a major cause for concern. So, beyond just raising or tabling such important motions in Parliament, do you think you have done enough from your parliamentary mandate of playing the oversight and holding the executive accountable? Whether you have done that effectively and sufficiently. And should you ascend to power after next year's elections, how will you approach this issue differently? And linked to that, your member in the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, Dr. Ndlozi, has expressed disquiet about the workings of the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence. And the EFF, on several occasions, have not supported the budget vote on intelligence, because they say, there's no information coming, we don't know exactly what is going on, and so on and so forth. So, Mr. Malema, the question pertaining to the issue of intelligence, we have seen that through the Zondo Commission, but we've seen that our intelligence agents in the country have gone rogue on many issues, where even funds are stolen in Musanda, in local and foreign currency. which is quite unfortunate. So I think the thing is that how do we correct this rogue element within the intelligence services? And maybe linked to that as a final point, Mr. Malema, it's decisions that are taken by the president, for instance, to classify some of the reports. We've spoken earlier about the July unrest. Task teams were set up, the one led by Sandy Africa, for instance. They came up with recommendations and, and so on and so forth. But on the intelligence report, the president decided to classify that report. We don't know what is contained in that. And it's interesting because initially there were talks that some high-profile NC members were involved in this attempted insurrection. So how do we, as citizens or as people who should hold the executive accountable, push to have those documents declassified? The last one was the Lady R controversy, where South African government was accused by US of loading weapons or supplying Russia with weapons and so on. Another investigation team was set up by the president, and he declared, I think also in Parliament or whatever, that report is classified. I mean, how do we hold the president accountable about that? What do we know? What is contained in that report? And finally, the parliamentary presiding officers, after that controversy with the Chief Justice, when he spoke about the laissez-faire attitude in terms of applying the recommendations of the Zondo Commission, they held a media briefing, and in one of the things talking about oversight, Mr. Malema, when the question was asked about the president, there are no mechanisms, like stricter mechanisms in Parliament to hold the president accountable. And they spoke about sending a delegation to the UK to study how the UK hold their president accountable. And I mean, so will the EFF support? They're talking about tight fiscal discipline, tight budgets, but now they're sending a delegation to England to study how they hold maybe Boris Johnson accountable, even though they fired him. Thanks.
I hope your answer will be shorter than his question.
Well, I think the one of the president is neither here nor there. We're not going to agree with that. So the trips in Parliament are decided by who wants to tour which area. So if someone hears there is Maldives and he discovers it now, he's going to do some trip that goes to Maldives and say we are going to study what we are going to study. So I think Nozivio wants to go to London, and he says we must go to London to go and study how to hold the president accountable. We are not going to agree. We have made our point very clear already that there is no need. We are already holding ministers accountable here in South Africa, and we must just follow what is working and hold the president accountable. Well, I have no problem with classifying information, because there is a certain information that includes state security. But you cannot classify something that is in the interest of our people. Because if there were armaments that were sold and the arms committee was not involved and all of that, you might want to tell us some parts of that report, not in totality and all, but you cannot you can't classify illegality and corruption. That we don't agree with. And that's why our problem is in the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, We are being told to pass budget, but where the money goes, we don't know. You find one, there was a guy in Durban, I forgot his name, I wanted to call him by name. He's an Indian chap there, who puts the whole family as a spice. Yeah, and then he pays the money, and when you bring that to the attention of the Joint Standing Committee, they brush it off. And then they buy houses and then call them safe houses. And then they buy houses in the most expensive suburbs. You may find that there is a safe house in Sandest. But when you follow through, there is no subject that stays there. It's a minister or a deputy minister or some DG or anything of that sort. But that house is classified as safe house. So that is illegality. And that's where our battle is with them. That you refuse to account, and when we push you to account, you say no, these things are classified. And what is even worse, you can't get out of that committee and share that information. You're not allowed. So you are just going to be drowning in knowing things that are wrong, and you can't speak about them anywhere because they say they are classified. I think we ought to find a way of challenging that legislation to say where there is acts of corruption, they must be declassified and people must be told about them, and a proper investigation must be done. That's where the Inspector General of the Intelligence should come in to come and say, we should give him that information and say, but this one and this one and this one, we don't think they've got anything to do with classifying information for the sake of state security or secret. This is corruption and we want you to investigate. That's why there was a big fight on Inspector General. We fought because the person they wanted to bring in the form of the chairperson now of the Integrity Committee, French Gun, was going to be partisan, completely partisan. And they did not get the required numbers and they had to abandon Chikane as name. But how do you bring a politician to become an Inspector General where some of these things must be taken to and say to him, these people are engaged in corrupt activities, please intervene and help the situation. You find him conflicted because he's a leader of a political party. The illicit financial flows are the ones that led to us being grey listed. That's our struggle. It's a permanent war that we are fighting in the Standing Committee of Finance. It's a permanent war that we are fighting at SCOPA because these multinational companies are the ones that are engaged in illicit financial flows, helped by our own institutions who look the other way. And when that information comes to our attention, we are the only party that has challenged the issues of illicit financial flows, and we have not abandoned them. And what is even shocking is that when we raised this matter of illicit financial flows, members of the ANC did not know what we were talking about and even asked us to run workshops for them on illicit financial flows because they have no idea how it affects the country and how does it work. It's a reality we are confronted with. Thank you.
Morio, you're happy? Yes, sir. All right. There was a hand this side, persistent hand over there.
Thank you very much. Professor Onkopotse Tabane, I pay my respects. My name is Sihla Ngule Siwisa. It's a pleasure to be able to address the CIC. I'm from the Eastern Cape. And I'm not a member of the EFF. However, because this is a frank dialogue, I want to say that I have observed the evolution of your maturity as a leader over time. I first saw you on our television when you were leading a march here, COSAS, that became violent. and you spoke, and you were a young lion, even within the ANC. You know, I think you'd also admit that there were moments when elders abused the youth for their own ends. And I think that's part of the reason why we're here now, because the minute you bit the hand that sought to direct you, then you were defenestrated from the ANC. Ironically, I think the trauma of being cast out of the ANC gave you and your capable collective an opportunity to introspect, to pause, reflect, and renew. On my way here, I was driving behind a taxi, and it has the inscription at the back, "Basheshe Bahleka," which means we laughed too soon. And there was a moment when, you know, the discussion of you would work and many other things made you a laughing stock on social media. But I must admit, as a member of the ANC, that the Julius of yesteryear is vastly different to the articulate young scholar who is schooling us today. Your journey to the union buildings will be fraught with contestation. There's a saying in Afrikaans, "You hoef nie die kind met die badwater weggooi." That means you cannot throw away the bathwater with the child. There are still credible cadres in the ANC with ideological clarity who love this country as much as you do. Let's collaborate, let's back channel, and let's make all voices count. Thank you very much.
Interesting. All right. Thank you so much. There are 3 people left now before we can all go and have dessert and go home. Yes.
Hello, hi. Umberto Bacchi from Agence France Presse. I have 2 quick questions. The first one, if you could elaborate a bit further on the elections in Zimbabwe. In particular, the ANC has labeled the opposition leader as an American puppet. What do you make of that comment, and what's your own assessment? And the second is on BRICS and hosting Vladimir Putin here. Understanding the concerns that you expressed about the ECC and American foreign policy, having Putin here will send a message of support towards his leadership, and considering that this is someone who runs a largely corrupt, if you want, regime who holds an imperialistic view of Russia's role in the world, how do you reconcile that with the core values of the EFF? In short, is he someone who's worthy of your support?
No, I don't think Putin runs an imperialistic war, because imperialism will seek to extend its influence over others' territories, and that's not what he's seeking to do. All he's saying is that NATO cannot expand itself to a point where it threatens Russian security. He doesn't talk about encroaching on other people's sovereignty and imposing his ideological orientations on those other countries. He's saying, this is me, and when you come closer to me and put your weapons facing at my direction, you are a threat to me, and therefore I don't want that. Whereas imperialism wants to extend itself into other people's territories. He's not saying, he never woke up in the morning and said, I want to annex Ukraine and make it part of Russia. All he said is that your joining of NATO is a direct threat to Russia and undermines many other treaties which made a commitment that NATO will not extend to that particular direction. And that's all. And I always say to people that you always say people have a right to choose what they want to choose and all of that. If NATO decide to choose to join, I mean, if Ukraine decide to choose to join NATO, what is his problem? But what if you go to bed one day and then your wife comes to bed with a knife and say it is her right to choose what she wants to sleep with, and then she's going to sleep next to you with a knife? You can't allow that. There's not going to be sleeping that day. No one is going to sleep in that room. And then Barry's got a right to carry a knife and then sleep with knife next to me. So it can't be, it's not correct. You said something about American puppet?
Yeah, within the Zimbabwean election.
Well, that is Mbalula's view, and it is at the ultimate end the choice of the people of Zimbabwe who they vote for. Tsvangirai won elections. Mugabe refused to accept the results, and then President Mbeki intervened. There was a government of national unity, and then subsequently there was the election. Mugabe won. And then this one came through the way it came, and the people voted Tsvangirai. Even Mnangagwa's people will tell you that we lost that vote. Chamisa. They voted Chamisa. Twice they won. Tsvangirai won, Chamisa won. At least Tsvangirai's winning was announced. The only difference was that he didn't reach the threshold. This one's winning was handled differently. And remember, the army plays a role in Zimbabwe as to who wins, who doesn't win. So, if Mbalula characterizes Chamisa as an American puppet, he has to produce some form of evidence. He can't just talk. Why is he saying he's an American puppet? Because if you read Tsvangirai and Chamisa's policies and those of the ANC, they are the same. They're the same. Chamisa, the ANC and DA, they all sing from the same hymn book. So why would he, who is he to tell us that Chamisa is an American puppet? The ANC has been the British puppet from its formation. The ANC had a thing in, was it constitution, protect the Queen, in its constitution at the formation of the ANC. So you can't come and want to lecture us about puppets of anything. If the people want Chamisa, they must vote Chamisa. If the people want Tyson, they must vote. How do you disqualify a person from contesting you? It's already a sign of panic. Because if you don't doubt yourself and we're talking democracy, open the field. Let everyone contest. Why are you scared of Kasukweri? Kasukweri must be allowed to contest so that people have more options of what they want to do with Zimbabwe. We need a stable Zimbabwe, especially ourselves as South Africa. We need a stable Zimbabwe, and we so wish that this election are successful and there's no violence and they produce stability for the sake of our own peace, because this thing that we see here of Zimbabweans being beaten up and all of that really is not nice. It's not nice. So a functioning Zimbabwe will lessen some of these xenophobic tendencies that we come across from time to time.
If you're happy?
Yes, thank you.
All right. I think there's 2 left now, okay?
No, there's a woman here.
Are there other people?
There's a woman here.
This side has been.
Yeah, there was a
All right. Okay, let me take one and I'll come back to this table.
No, thank you so much for the opportunity. Mr. Malema, in provinces where the ANC has...
Sorry, introduce yourself.
With UFM and Newsnote, I'm sorry about that. Where the ANC has displayed serious weaknesses in electoral politics, Free State, Northwest, Mudimule, Mokopong, you would know that even in Rustenburg, they are running the municipality with just 1 vote and for a 3rd consecutive term. How has the EFF failed to take advantage of that situation and get at least 1 or 2 municipalities? And then secondly, in relating to your internal democracy, I've heard you on several occasions, I think it was in Limpopo, I forgot the other province, where you were cautioning delegates to a provincial assembly to say you are electing people that are incompetent. They fail here and you take them to a higher role. How much of a frustration is that for the EFF, and is there a way that you think you can manage it without necessarily imposing individuals? And finally, you spoke about discipline as being one of the attributes that identify the EFF. Most political parties are struggling in this country. When they are going into a meeting, resolutions have already leaked, they are online and so on. I must say, as a journalist, that I hardly ever see that with the EFF. How do you get it right? And also just take the opportunity to explain this idea of discipline in your terms as the EFF, because others would then say it's a cult, he speaks alone, the rest can't speak. I think you can just speak to that. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. No, you know, discipline is what will run any institution. In the absence of discipline, you can forget. You mentioned the radio where you come from. Imagine when people do as they wish there, because if you implement discipline, they will say it's a cult, he speaks alone and all of that. I think that the people who know the leadership of the EFF, from when it started until now, there is no way you can speak alone. The reason why they joined EFF, part of it is that they are just defiant in nature. That's why they were like, yeah, we're going to the EFF, so what? So you can't speak alone. Discipline is what makes everything work. Be in the church, be in politics. There was a point where we were very disciplined in the ANC. We knew leadership, and then we knew when the leadership will speak, and when the leadership speaks, we all listened. Not this leadership that speaks all the time. When it goes to the bathroom, it calls a press conference. When it goes to the bathroom, it calls a press conference. No. It's tiring. You can see that you have a Secretary General of the ANC who appears on TV more than Sophie Mugweni. So you no longer know who's the presenter between the two of them. You know, so we used to, during MALEMA Mtland, the NEC will sit and then we'll be drinking there, young. Someone will scream from the house, hey, SG's on TV. We'll all abandon what we are doing to go and watch, because we know that if the SG goes on TV, there's something important to be announced. Not this thing we're seeing. So that doesn't, inspire confidence, and it becomes some playful type of a thing. So yesterday in Mudimole, right, the AEFF issues a directive: don't vote with the ANC. 2 councillors or 3 councillors, they vote with the ANC. The ANC wins a mayor. What must I do? Because if I act, I'm a cult. And if I leave those people, then it's going to be a trend everywhere. They do as they wish. They must be disciplined. They must learn to carry the mandate of the organization. Those ones are even worse. They went into the council through what is called PR. It's party representative. You carry the mandate of the party. If you are a ward councillor, you can say, no, but in my ward they are saying. But when you are PR, there is no ward. Only the party tells you what to do. And they've not done it. And I don't think they should wake up the following day as members of the EFF. They must be suspended with immediate effect, so that whoever tries to do that knows that there is discipline in the EFF. And this ill discipline what makes it even more painful of this nature, it has got money in it, where people are given money to vote in a particular way. So how are you going to have an organization where people are bought with money and don't follow the party line? So you need to nip it on the bud. And that's what the EFF does. My brother, elections are very difficult. When I can see you can form a radio here today and move it and go there. You don't just take a municipality. A municipality. In politics, longevity brings about integrity and credibility. People want to see you for over a period of time. And they want exactly the point the comrade was making, that you have been moving from this to this to this. We're watching you. They can't just wake up one morning and give you a municipality. They once gave a Holomisa municipality there in Mutata. What happened? That was the beginning, the end of it. So, and remember, the EFF is a victim of these other parties that failed before the EFF. But it's just one of those. Unless the EFF demonstrate over a period of time that it is different from those parties that came before. And that's why I hear, hey, you don't have municipality, you don't have that. I'm not worried about that, because I know it's just a matter of time where the people will know that the only organization that is reliable is this one. How? By being consistent and by having a staying power. Because we're not a popcorn approach. We are a political formation that is ground up. And so far we're doing well. Someone was saying, you like saying you are a government in waiting. We're not government in waiting. We're government in Ikuruleni. We're government in Joburg. We're government in Mogale City. We're government in Nelson Mandela. We're government in eThekwini. So, and it's happening gradually, slowly, in a very qualitative manner. And if you're to check those illiterate councillors they are talking about, for sure of the EFF, we're going to find very few of them. Because the type of people we want to give to society, they must be of a particular caliber and quality. We cannot replace a tendency with the same tendency. So that's why the EFF's rise is of quality, and we're happy with it. That was municipality elections, you're saying?
The internal one where you are saying people are incompetent and then
well, you know what I normally do? When the EFF holds conferences, I go to close the conference. I don't open it. Because if I open it, they say I will dictate. Because I've got this thing of just speaking the truth about people. If it was for me, I always tell them, if it was my company, others won't even qualify to lead the EFF. So I stay out, allow them to vote and finish, so that I can go and have an honest conversation with them, which will not reverse the elections. But I give them an opportunity to do what they want to do. When they are done, I go and raise the weaknesses of the organization and of the leadership. And that conferences by their own nature should work to help and resolve problems, should not create problems. But I don't want to be seen to be interfering. They all went the conferences of the EFF without me speaking before the elections. I allow them to do conference, elect and all of that, then go after to speak.
Okay.
Because I don't want to be, but if they are witnesses, I will raise them.
Yeah.
And I will raise them sharply within the organization.
Last two, I've run out of time completely, so I'm going to take, there was a lady in this table, and then you'll be our last one over there, and then unfortunately we have to close at that. Hopefully it won't be the last dialogue, but I think we've run the course now. Yes.
Yes, my name is Nomo Sampele from Kasi Broadcasting Africa. So, Ntate Malema, there is this program called Nasi Ispani. Yeah, where is it coming from? And is it from government or municipality? And this thing, age restriction. So I found it weird, Guti, people at the age of 36, they can't apply for job, good government. So EFF yona ngoba uthi numbono wayo about this whole age restriction and these jobs, etc. And my second question is, since we were speaking about building a school and farming, is there any way maybe your party works together with our educational system on teaching abantwana basesebancane ukulima instead of teaching them how babies are made at the age of 10? Yes. Thank you.
No, I agree with the last part. Ours is in a farm, and agriculture will be part of what we are teaching our kids, because our first non-negotiable cardinal pillar is the land. So you can't, when you are fighting for land, not teach people how to use land in a beneficial way. So we've taken the school to the farm, and we will make sure that agriculture is part of that. Nasi Spani, it's a criminal activity of the ANC and Banyaza, because it's hiring those campaigners of the ANC. They want to get volunteers of the ANC, put them in the payroll of government. Then when posters time come, they release them. When door to door comes, they release them. When marches come, they release them. So it is not a genuine thing. But in terms of age restriction, the president was speaking in one of these imbizos. He said he's going to remove the age limit. People must apply and all of that. But Banyaza is coming with that for ANC purposes. It's just that there's that thing that exposed Besta, that what do they call it, ground up or something.
Ground up.
Yeah, ground up. Ground up must just go and investigate those people. Those people who say the guys who are employed, let's get a list of those guys.
You're talking about the police volunteers.
Those ones of Banyas. Yeah, I agree. He did the police.
Yeah.
Then he did Nazi Spani, where we are going to drop the CVs.
Yes.
Yes.
But they've not appointed the people.
Yeah.
I think they're closing dates.
When you know what they did? People went to drop the CVs. And then those CVs were abandoned. The real CVs were delivered.
Sure.
They were filmed delivering the real ones. Yes, of cadres. So, if you go to those police of Panyaza, is either that person is going to be the secretary of the Women's League, the chair of the Youth League, the additional member of the ANC.
Come on, all the 6,000.
Yeah. All of them. All of them. Now, as we speak, there is a crisis on the ground. But where are these police coming from? They were hired how? Yeah. So the ANC, they take the branches, and then they say, we've got so many branches. This branch will give us 10 CVs, this one 20, depending on the size of the branch, like that. Then they get that 6,000, then submit it. Then call all of us to submit. Can't the real stuff has happened? Then call all of us to submit. That is in relation to elections. They are preparing elections. Yes, because no one wants to volunteer for the ANC now. They say, no, we've been volunteering. People come, they are the ones who take opportunities and all of that. So you have to find a creative way. So it's not a genuine thing.
We're going to take the last.
Yeah.
You are the last person to speak. Please go for it.
Mr. Malema, good afternoon. My name is Sifiso Mahlango from Independent Media. One question. In 2012, Ian Khama, President of Botswana, then President of Botswana, declared you an illegal immigrant. He lost election, fled his country, and now lives in Hyde Park. In the past, you did not have a good relationship with him. He didn't want you in that country, and for that reason, entry upon Botswana would have declared you arrested. But he lives here. He's been declared a fugitive by his country. It's not the style of the EFF and yourself, frankly, that you haven't said anything about it, or that you haven't called for South Africa to hand him over to Botswana, or that the SADC international community be up in arms. So I'm just curious, why the silence? What do you think about Nkama staying in Hyde Park, where I'm told you stay yourself? And shouldn't he go back to his country and face the music? Thank you.
Well, I stay in Hyde Park. When you say I'm staying in Hyde Park, that guy is laughing as if it's a joke. It's not a joke. I stay in Hyde Park and I make no apology about it. It's not a secret. And I don't come from Sesheu. I don't come from township. My grandmother comes from a place called Disteneng. Disteneng is a town. So when we claim land in my family, we claim land in town. I don't come from a township. Where they built town, that's where I come from. So my coming to Hyde Park is coming to where my grandparents come from. I make no apology about it. So don't even laugh with me trying to think you are creating some bad image about it. And I've stayed there. For sure you were still in high school when I was staying there. It's not a secret. So Ian Khama, you know that time a lot of them declared me persona non grata. Lungu didn't want me. Ian Khama didn't want me. Muswati didn't want me, and all of that. And one day when I went to Lesotho there, that Ian Khama comes to greet me. I'm like, this guy, there is no problem. Like, and you know, you are in a foreign land, you don't want to be bringing attitude in other people's countries. I just cooperated. But he has not been an issue to us. And if indeed he's a fugitive, he has to be taken back home. But Ian Khama has never been an issue. We have never entertained him. Even when he was banning us in Botswana, we're like, what are we going to do in Botswana? To do what? To look for what? So I appreciate that information, because it means I must go and look for him now. The hunter becomes the hunted now. So I'll make a follow-up with the police. He doesn't stay in just Hyde Park. He stays in Saxon Hotel.
Sure.
Yeah, he stays in Saxon Hotel. I know his address. So I will ask the Minister of Police if they are looking for him. I will show them where he stays, so they can go and fetch him and send him back there. They are looking for him. So I know that, but it was one of those things where a person just get threatened by non-existing thing. You know, I was charged by the ANC for saying Botswana has got an American base and poses a threat to South Africa. Mbalula repeated it a few days ago. Mbalula said Botswana is a threat with an American base. He's not charged. But I was charged for that. And that one didn't want me for that. Because I said we need to remove the government of Botswana through the people of Botswana and put a government that will dismantle that base, which is putting a threat on the whole of SADC. Because a research was conducted, the landing strip that is there in the army base of Botswana, they say it can land a fighter jet which can take less than 2 minutes if it wants to hit the Union building. So if America says we're fighting South Africa, it doesn't have to send anything from Washington. They are here already. And that's what Putin doesn't want in Ukraine. They want to do what they did here in Botswana, in Ukraine. We allowed it. And our position as the EFF is that that army base must be removed because it poses a threat to SADC. And he didn't want me to say, he banned me for my political opinion. I didn't say we're going to bomb Botswana or anything of that sort. But he was threatened by the honesty that we shared with people.
All right.
And people need to know that there is a base here which can flatten South Africa in less than no time if America decides to fight with us. It doesn't have to move anything from Washington. Actually, by the time we assemble, our equipment will be gone.
Final word as we close, and I want to link it to that question, migration. What I can see now that parties are lining up. If you listen to Gaten McKenzie, now the ANC has gone into NEC now to say that changing tack on migration. If you were to govern with your views about Pan-Africanism, open borders and so on, how do you tackle the issue of migration? Briefly as we close.
What migration? Because there were no borders. Your problem is that you are saying you don't want colonialism, but you embrace the borders that were brought by colonialism here. Amen. There were no borders here. There have never been borders here. And that, is it Berlin Conference? It's not long time ago. It's traceable. The borders started then. The people will never leave their countries to your country if their economy and their government is working. Limpopo is very poor. There is no border between Gauteng and Limpopo. But Limpopo people have not left Limpopo to come to Gauteng. Yet Gauteng has got more resources. Why can't they leave Limpopo and come here? If these people wanted to come here, this fence was not going to stop them. No one wants to come here. They are coming to look for opportunities, and that's what we must encourage with all of you, especially the unemployed youth of South Africa. Let Africa be your playing ground. We were conditioned to think that we are superior and we are a country that is defined out of the continent. There are many countries in the continent that are doing so well. And they can use your skill, and they use dollars, by the way, some to pay.
Okay.
So our position didn't change. All right. I have no time for borders. Why? I have no time for colonialism. How do you say to me, go and change French on the passport, and then come at the same time and say, leave the borders alone, but remove French. Removing of French on the passport is part of decolonizing South Africa. So you can't speak in folk tongues. It has to be very clear. No one is going to come to our country. They don't have borders in Europe. But when it comes to us, they say, no, you must have borders. Why? The division of of Africa is what makes them thrive. They thrive on the division of the African continent. Can you imagine the minerals of DRC combined with the minerals of South Africa and with a new currency based on the minerals? What we can do to the dollar if we become a United States of Africa with our minerals alone? We can collapse the dollar. We can collapse the strong pound that is based on gold, yet they don't have a gold mine. So why do you allow such things? So my position is informed by that. And someone says, no, we won't vote you if you say such things, we won't vote for you. He's asking me to lie so that he can go around saying politicians lie. When I tell the truth, I won't vote for you. I must lie so that they can vote for me. Correct. There were no borders, and we must all of us unite in that call. Free movements of persons, free movements of goods will make this country flourish. We will even produce our own products. One thing that you South Africans undermine yourself with is that you are the America of Africa. If you are to produce anything here, Africa will receive it with both hands. They will say, this one is from South Africa. You are known for quality, yet you still don't produce a car. Open the borders. Let the goods move. Let people move. Then produce a car that is South African and sell it to the billions of people who are out there waiting for products from South Africa.
All right.
We don't produce anything, yet we've got market.
Okay, CIC, I know you can, on this one, I know you can talk for 3 hours. Are you on course to be president before you retire? Quick answer.
I'm in charge, Chief. We're ready, we must take this thing.
CIC, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For being part of this dialogue. And hopefully it's not the last one. And all the best with 10th anniversary of EFF and all the celebrations that are coming up. And to everybody here tonight, thank you so much.